Happy anniversary, Wade!
Good morning, Rob. How is life treating you this fine day?
Well, full of gratitude, full of happiness, because today, my friend, is a very historic day for us at Magic.tv, right, brother?
Absolutely. It's hard to believe it has been this long already. It seems like we just started.
And you know something, brother? This is one thing I want to share with you. Magic.tv would not be what it is if not for you. I remember I was in the worst space in my life, and you used the words. It came from your mouth. Magic.tv. And then afterwards, the rest was history. It's like, fuck yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to make this happen. I said, what my only condition to you was, all you got to do is co-host it with me. And, you know, when you first heard us talking about it, brother, what came through your mind? Like, what did you think we were going to end up doing? How far did you think we were going to make it? Or like, what was like, it's like when you just spitballed it for the first time, what were your initial thoughts on the entire project?
My initial thoughts, honestly, I had no expectations.
Mm-hmm.
It seemed like a neat idea, but honestly, this was before all the micro influencers and all that other stuff became a big thing, where everybody wanted to have their own show. And I thought, you know, it would be neat to actually have something that was a show that's for magicians, by magicians, and it would be something where people could, you know, talk to some of the grand old mages, you know, and old school magicians, because I'm a little concerned about the new school magicians.
Definitely speaking.
But it was so hard to get everybody together in one place. I mean, PantheaCon was amazing. You could go there, you could talk to all these people, and I thought, yeah, well, that's great, but it's once a year.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I want something you could do every day.
That sounds like exactly what I wanted to do. But here's one thing I wanted to ask you. When it started picking up, how many times did you find yourself blown the fuck away? Like, fuck, man, we're talking to this dude.
Well, honestly, we've had some guests on that I had no idea about, because I've been staying kind of out of touch with newer magicians on the scene.
Mm-hmm.
I remember you talking about, oh yeah, we need to get some of the great magicians on that. I'm going back to like PantheaCon and Ancient Ways and going like, you know, I know a lot of people. Mm-hmm. I just took for granted casually meeting all of these amazing people, like, you know, every day. People would come into the store that their books take up half a shelf. And I just kind of got used to that. And then, you know, I moved here, and, you know, having the show is like, you know what? I would like everybody to have that experience, to be able to directly interact with their people and these legendary magicians. I thought that would just be mind blowing.
So, but like, which one was the first one that made you say, "Holy shit"?
Wow. I would have to give that one to Lon Duquette.
Lon Duquette. Yeah, you know what? Lon, I think, you know what? When Lon guested on the show, I knew for a fact we were doing something right. But you know what? I knew our show was going to be badass on the second episode. You know why? Marcus Katz is the tarot reader that I look up to the most in the whole world. Like, people ask me, who do you go to for readings, Rob? I go to Marcus. So when he agreed to guest on Tarot Thursdays, it was like freaking Anakin Skywalker having Mace Windu on the show. You know what I mean? And I thought that, like, well, you know what? I mean, he's a great guy, but for tarot, that's where he's good. I mean, he's also a magician, so, you know, it was a lot of good. But I was like saying, well, how far can we go with this? You're right. Lon was amazing. But imagine, brother, imagine the friends we've made throughout the show. Imagine the relationships you and I have made with people and the shit we've learned. Like, I have this thing I want to share before we get to our first mystery get. guest. I know when Wade is blown away because he starts doing this. You start the episode like this, then it start going like this, then it start going like this. Like you're going further and further. Like, you're like getting blown away. So from the academic of learning stuff, who made the biggest impact for you?
As far as learning stuff that I didn't know, or that I was completely unfamiliar with, I would have to give that one to Dr. Jeremy Weiss.
Yeah, another fun guy.
Amazing individual. I've spoken with a few rabbis in my life, and I gotta say, every time, I'm just blown away. And then when we actually, formed friendship with Dr. Weiss, and it's like, God, this is amazing. I'm meeting. It's like at Ancient Ways again, and you get to meet all of these masters of their craft, and it's really something.
And it's shouting out to Castiel Samuel, saying hi, hello, Sir Robert and Frater Ov. Welcome to the show. But you know what? Like, personally speaking, because I cannot say who my favorite was, because it's like saying which is your favorite GI Joe. You got the bag. You know what I mean? It's like you can't say of them all which one you want to let go of because you love them all. But I gotta personally say that Jack Grail's guesting on the show was like, I never slept better in my life after he guested, because like I am such a fan of his courses, of his work, that when he guested and what he taught us really just took things to a huge new level. I mean, like I said, I'm nothing but thankful for the entire program. I'm nothing but thankful for the friends that we've made, the connections that we've come to, and the number of people who have opened and closed a season for us. From you, Juan Duquette, closing season 1. What was he? Season 1? He was the closer of season 1, right?
Season 1.
And then the opener of season 2. I see. I'm so old. Who is the opener of season 2? I know we had a heavy hitter for the opener of season 2. Shit, they're probably going to kill me. But the closer of season 2 was Stephen Skinner. So imagine I'm talking to my old friend, Stephen Skinner, and he's like conglomerating Eastern feng shui and Western demonology all in one episode. You know what I mean? So with that, I'm just at this point in my life where I am just thankful that this entire show has existed the way it was, because one thing people don't know about me was I teach people stuff about occultism here in the Philippines. I got a lot of wonderful students, but there's something amazing about being able to talk to colleagues in the practice, or even people who are beyond my skill set. You see what I mean? So it's kind of rare, you see, for me to meet those kind of people locally, because there's not many. So like I would talk to you in this, and all of a sudden now we're interviewing people like Jack, like Lon, like Stephen, like David. And then now you're actually having a dialogue of people, and everybody's freaking learning. So
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I live in a swamp up in the hills, and there's nobody here. So yeah, I mean, getting to talk to anybody, I could go on for hours.
So I'm hoping that our first guest for tonight will join and be here. I don't know if he's awake. He might be getting up. He's a man of his word, but let's not give anything away. But I already sent him the link. Just to let him know. Now, here's another thing I want to say. Like, what was the biggest surprise you've had? Surprise. That's what I'm curious about. In the entire stunt of Magic.tv, in 2 years of doing these episodes, what would you say it is?
I'd say the most unexpected thing that I picked up that from this show, I would have to say, when we go through the section where you say, okay, we have our guest. Okay, give us one of the tricks of the trade. Give us something, a technique that you've come up with, or something that people can go away a little more enriched from the process. And I was expecting like, oh, I have this spell for opening the abyss. I have this thing for, this thing that does, healing, for skin healing. And I have these other things, or I did a custom tarot layout for you guys. I'd have to say the most unexpected thing was Lon telling us to wax our cards with wax paper when we're doing the thing. And I'm like, this is the most practical shit I could actually think of. And it took me completely by surprise, because it's kind of like in, what was it? The Spider-Verse movie, when he's like, okay, you got lay down some cool Spider-Man knowledge on me. And he's just like, use baby powder in the suit, go heavy on the joints. And you're like, that's not what I expected. But this was, I mean, you wax your tarot cards and they shuffle like they're brand new. It's amazing. You don't have anything, no cards sticking together, and that's a big one.
But let's not forget also, I think this is one of the reasons things are still kind of, let's say, not stale, but not working at the way we want it to. This episode of Magic.tv and the entire season, the entire project, is in honor and in promise to the patron of Magic.tv, Belial himself. For you, we're men of our word. You brought us together. You got me through one of the darkest nights of my life. The show is and always will be yours. We hope this pleases you, and we have a special episode planned tonight with a bunch of amazing people. And speaking of, Belial and demons and devils, one unexpected guest that I never imagined would be part of the show, but eventually did, was getting a random message on Twitter, when it was still Twitter, from a very interesting fellow, a man who released a book on Friedrich Nietzsche and the Left-Hand Path, saying that he heard about our show, and I didn't know him from Adam. I didn't even have a copy of his work, but I observed, based on how he's writing, I saw some videos about him. This guy was full of passion, and I was none other than Shay Ble. And getting him on the show really, really just made me respect him more. I mean, this is a guy who took his practice not just as a form of magic or just a form of ego boosting. This is a guy who took his practice to a whole new level, and it was already devotional. And ever since then, what I like about Shay as a friend and as a colleague is he goes above and beyond just he guessed it and he's gone. He literally, I get messages from him every now and then. He checks up on me. He said, hey, brother, it's so funny that you see this guy who's a Satanist, but he's doing a lot more light work than most so-called light workers I know. And he says, Rob, I know you're struggling with your divorce, but, he gives me some not metaphors. What's the word I'm looking for? He's just giving me some examples and historic anecdotes of when he went through something similar. And hearing it come from somebody like him really brings a semblance of hope to the whole thing, because it means he knows what he's talking about. He's not ass pulling anything. He's literally telling us that things have been difficult, but you're going to get through this. So just curious, right? What time is it right now on you, Wade? It's 11:46 here in Metro Manila. How about on you?
It is 8:46 here in Pacific time.
Alrighty, I think we should be getting our. All right, let's hope our first guest wakes up. I don't want it to miss out on this. You're ready. I know this first special guest of ours to be a man of his words. So if he shows up, I'm thankful. If he doesn't, I'm sure he has his reasons. But then it's a surprise for everybody who we kind of pulled in together. I didn't announce who was going to be here, so I'm hoping we can stick true to the 5 super guests. Now, okay, here's another one to say. Of the people we haven't featured, is there anyone that you would love to see on the show?
Oh my God. If we could take all of them and just kind of sit in a room and
I would
just
put that on the air, man.
fire back and forth. No, not even so much to be on the air, but just to have all those minds.
Mm-hmm.
If, I don't know, form like a league of extraordinary mages and just solve problems in the world.
Talking about the Illuminati, man. That would, that would be the ultimate masterclass experience, and I would love to have something like that, because first things first, you got to make sure there's enough coffee in the room, because with all that energy and all that talking and discussing, we're not gonna sleep for days on end. It's just gonna be a slobber knocker, if you ask me. Hold on, let me just check up if our next guest is here. Uh-huh. Well, maybe I didn't remind him. Uh-oh. All righty. Well, if he shows up, he shows up. If he doesn't, I should have reminded him. Well.
But yeah, if there was some way, and not even so much as like a class, but like as a way that we could like, okay, we're going to make this a think tank, and we're going to get some people working on problems. We got, we have this thing coming up. We have this other issue. This is something that we could all work on. If you could get 2 or 3 magicians to work together on something, that's a miracle. But if we could get every one of our guests together in a think tank and work on things, we could straighten the world out in a year.
Yeah, I'm pretty confident of that. I mean, we could probably solve world hunger doing that. And, you could tell the difference between a mage and a mageling, because a real mage will actually think about the better, how do I say, welfare of everyone around them. Like, it's not just about them, because they realize that they're part of an ecosystem that, like, if the world benefits, then they benefit. I think I may have goofed up, because our first guest, I should have reminded him yesterday, but I totally missed that or info and remind me on Saturday.
Moving on, we can put him up later if he comes in.
Well, if he's free, I mean, if a busy fellow, but then of course it's not like I'm going to hold anything against him. It's literally just borrowing time from him, and he's a busy fellow and would want to promote him, but again, we still have a bunch of other people signed up, so let me just get through the next one. Okay, paste. Let me just. So aside from that, though, but like any particular living author that you feel you would like to have on the show that we haven't had yet, anybody that we think we've missed?
I would have to say Tim Zell.
Well, who's he?
I don't know if he goes by Oberon or Otter now.
Oh, Oberon Zell, yeah.
The Gray School.
Yeah, the Gray School of Magic.
Yeah. Victor Anderson's dead. He's the only other one that I could think of that right there was an archmage, because I met him at Pantheacon. He was actually the creator of the fairy tradition, which Starhawk turned into the spiral path. But I got to meet him, and it's really uncommon for me to just shake someone's hand like I grabbed an electric fence. But this guy was just really, he had just a massive presence, and it wasn't even like he wasn't a ceremony magician, but he had the juice, and that's really something.
Yeah, if what they got attacking, they got like that thing protecting them. All right, here's one for you. This is a good one.
Okay.
Of all the mages of the past, even dead, if you could have one on this show, who would it be?
Cornelius Agrippa.
Okay, how come him?
Wrote the 3 books of occult philosophy. Some would say he stole the 3 books of occult philosophy. Either way, but he was very much like me. He was a magic nerd. That he would just go and explore and discover stuff and experiment and figure things out and then write it all down. And he was born on my birthday. Lucky guy.
Amazing. You wouldn't want to have Uncle Al on the show?
Honestly, Al's an open book. Everything that he did, everything he wrote, everything that someone probably found his laundry list at some point and published it. Every scrap of paper that he put a pen to has been published somewhere. A lot of his stuff is an open book, but it would be nice to interview him. But honestly, I don't know if there's a whole lot more to really be learned from talking to him directly.
I'm kind of just curious what he was like as a person. I mean, that's a side of him that I would want to look into and try to like, okay, tell me more about you. Like, if you ask me for this show for living, there are some people that I'd still want to guest on the show. Like, I'd really want to get Damien Eccles on the show if he could. I really believe in his story, and I love the fact that he's such an advocate for justice and in the proper administration of the justice system. Who else haven't we gotten yet? I'd be interested to talk to Peter Carroll, especially about Liber Null and the Psychonaut. And there's another one I want. Old man moment. I'm looking at my shelf trying to figure out who it is, because we've actually had a ton of great people. Like, I was like so blown away by how respectful and how gentlemanly people like Phil Hine and Frater UD were. Like, these are guys I would read growing up, and they were like, when you remember when I met you, I was like 15. And then you see this book by, Frater UD, you're doing like, wow, that guy's such a badass. You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden, like years later, he's on our show and he's liking my posts sometimes. It's like, wow.
Yeah,
it's like the honor that comes with it, man.
It's really something. When you see something that you look at, you're like, this guy wrote the gold standard of sigil magic. You ask anybody, hey, I want to learn sigil. Oh, yeah, you need this book. And then here he is sitting on the show with us. It's really something.
And just speaking of gold standards, I want to shout out to one publisher who I think is the gold standard of occult books today. One of them, there's a few, but then one of them particularly is Gabriel of Anathema Press, of how he just takes publishing books and not just publishes paper. He publishes literary works of art. As in, like, the Anathema books that I have of his, I mean, they're pieces of art, and I love how he doesn't just sell or publish stuff just to pull shit out of his ass and make money. I mean, he really curates his work so you could really feel the passion behind it. Also to Hadean Press, now especially David is now the one editing stuff. I mean, knowing that David Rankin, our last guest, is now the one doing the editing and stuff like that, it's only a matter of time before epic things are going to start coming out of more epic things. They got some good stuff, more epic things, knowing that like he's at the helm of things. It's really exciting. And also another special shout out while we're waiting for our second guest, because I don't think we're going to get our first guest, or maybe we'll get him later, is to none other than Denny, Foolish Fish, who really is doing a great job. I mean, saving people a lot of money and actually costing people a lot of money. What I mean by saving a lot of money, because you wait for his episodes to see what's coming up. And then usually the stuff that he shows, gets you the old handy credit card. It's just like, well, here we go. There goes another month's worth of tuition. But in 4 minutes, we should be having our first, should be second, but go. Now, I'll just tell him to go on. Our first special guest joining us again, a man I respect dearly, a very passionate soul, an individual who is not only a man full of compassion, but of passion. The way he writes, the way he represents himself has been an inspiration for people all around. I was very moved by his written work. I'm very moved by the time he gives fellow authors, people like us. But at the same time, he's gone beyond just a guest on the show. He's actually become a personal friend. So I will just wait for him to go on, and then we're going to surprise everybody with the first guest of the evening. So let's just give him a minute or so. Set that for everyone. Okay, that's where he is. All right. So aside from that, though, for those of you who don't know, Magic.tv is conceptualized like a year or two years ago, when I was in the bottom of the abyss. Wade came out and said, "Hey, buddy," and I was just like an Obi-Wan Kenobi moment. Wade personally mentored me in my evocation of Belial, who pretty much made it very clear that he had a mission for us, and I got to be thankful that the big man hasn't let us down. He's made things happen for us. The fact that people keep joining the show and supporting us shows that if you guys are planning on a life-changing evocation that's going to make things really good for you, you could not go wrong with working with Belial. But I will share with you some of my personal insights. If you're a mama's boy or a weakling, I don't think he's the kind of guy you want to work with, because he demands strength from the people he works with and results because he will give strength. He will give results. He will give support. He will give opportunities, but it's up to you to grab them. So if you're the kind of person that always has to cry to mama and you're a little one of those bedwetters, if you know what I mean, if you're at that syndrome, I don't want to be an asshole. In other words, if you're a weakling, don't bother working with Belial because he'll probably tear you a new one. But if you're somebody who, if your back's against the wall and, you want to go down on your shield, if you want to be a Spartan and fight, he'll give you that magical steroid shot to swing at everything. And our first guest is here with great honor. Welcome to the 2-year anniversary to my friend Facebook. You cannot cock block this man, my dearest friend. Shay Ble is back. Happy anniversary, Shay.
Hey, what's up, guys?
Good morning.
Give me 1 second to try to get some sound from you.
I hope you can hear
I'm
us.
not hearing you for the moment.
Good to have you. Our first guest, I guess it was a little bit of a miscommunication. We weren't able to have him, but I'm glad you were here. Happy to have you, brother. Can you hear us?
Wow.
Is that better?
Let me try something else if you guys don't mind.
Yeah, sure, no problem, brother. It's more of a celebratory episode for us. Well, for those of you wondering who our first guest is tonight, we got Shay Ble, author of Friedrich Nietzsche and the Left-Hand Path. Wow, man. I remember the first time I met him, he showed up and he messaged me on Twitter asking to be a part of the show. The rest is history. And I found that he was a fellow Mage the Ascension geek. Did you ever get into that during your youth?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Did you ever get into Mage the Ascension in your youth?
Mage the Ascension was not in my youth. I was a full-grown adult.
Okay, then in your adulthood.
Yeah, we did play that.
How did you feel about the take of Magic with Mage the Ascension anyway?
It was pretty good because there was a lot of things where they would say, well, okay, you have to do these things, but hide them.
Mm-hmm.
You have to be able to keep it hidden in order to maintain the masquerade, the illusion.
Now the question is for those who didn't play, why did we have to have it hidden?
Well, because you can't let regular people know that magic exists.
Mm-hmm. Because but the other thing is that in real life, people see magical stuff happen all the time and their brain edits it out. All right, now here's our guest of honor. Welcome back, Nefandus.
It's good to see you, gentlemen. Hello, how are you?
Well, we're here to tell everybody in the Facebook world that we told you we'd bring the devil back.
Oh, wow. I wonder how Mark Zuckerberg feels about that right now.
Well, Mark Zuckerberg can go ahead and suck my bird because you cannot muzzle my friend Shay Ble. How you doing, brother?
Oh, that's right. That's correct. That's correct. There's, doing what we do, just in general, in the occult and the esoteric world, we're going to face challenges, social challenges, cultural challenges, and everything else we have to deal with as being human beings. We're in this game of life and the tragic comedy that entails. Being an occultist, being an esotericist is one thing. Being an out-and-out Satanist or left-hand path or something like that definitely adds a bit in the pot to conjure some interesting, kind of endearing but sometimes arduous challenges. One of which is sometimes facing things like cancellation and not understanding at all why why I was taken off that platform. I don't know if it's directly related to my faith or my work. It is a little fishy. I played by all the rules. I played by all the rules these guys give, and they take me out with it. But they kept me on Instagram, so they've I guess they keep those two worlds separate in the metaverse.
Mm-hmm. I guess you were too good looking for the people on Facebook, but your friends at Magic.tv said, let's summon the devil.
TV didn't get platformed yet, because you guys are some good looking blokes as well.
But then again, we were telling Wade, you know what, for our anniversary episode, let's summon the devil. Let's bring him back. So what have you been up to lately, Shay? What's going on in your neck of the woods? And what do we have to look forward to from you, my friend?
Oh, I appreciate you. Yeah, being the second anniversary for Magic TV, you guys have really grown in the last couple of years. I would say that when you first brought me on, you guys both showed such a genuine openness and affirmation and open-minded about bringing other people to the platform to talk about that experience and talk about the human story in our own way. And I see now that, you know, all the good blessings that have come to kind of expand your channel and bring a larger audience. I think you guys deserve it, much more deserving. And I think I celebrate you in that. So as far as in my world, I've been doing a lot of teaching. I've been doing a lot of workshops. I was just in Florida. I was brought into Stetson University. A professor there brought me in to teach a week of his classes for his History of Satan class, one of the first of its kind. And he wanted to bring me in to teach on the Satanism part of that class, and then also to speak to the university. So, you know, another sign that, and this is the prime part of what I fight for. I merely want us to have a seat at the table, and I want to create an environment where people, usually in disenfranchised or misunderstood aspects of the left-hand path, Satanism, you know, we spent a lot of time being either initially maybe feared, a lot of the time mocked at, a lot of the time laughed at. I want to bring a table where, you know, you can think what you want of me, you can think what you want of my people or of the community, and we have all types where in this community under this umbrella of what we call Satanism and Luciferianism and left-hand path. But I'll be damned if you take away my seat from the fucking table and disallow me from speaking and having my voice. That's one thing I will not allow you to do. So the fact that I'm able to do these more, you know, in the world of scholastic or the world of academia, being invited formally out to universities and being sponsored by the various groups, it means this is a cultural phenomena that's now attaining an increased amount of respect and being regarded and acknowledged in a serious way. And that's my whole life's work, man. That's
Amen.
Everything I fight for is that. So
for the Legion.
Yeah, for the Legion, brother. And, you know, next week I'll be in Los Angeles. I'm going to do a it's a 4-part workshop series starting on July 13th. The whole series is called Fire in the Wine. I'll be doing it in 3 parts. So the history, the philosophy, and the ritual practice of the left-hand path. So respectively called. What's that?
Where will this be if people want to see you in person in LA?
Yeah, this is at the Crooked Path in Burbank. I just call LA to anyone who's not in LA. Yeah, it's going to be at the Crooked Path. You can go to crookedpathshop.com and you can buy the entire series. And it's going to have those 3 classes, 3 2-hour workshops from Saturday to Saturday to Saturday, ending on the 27th. And then there's going to be a ritual and the evening of the last class called the Hymn of the Red Dragon, which will be a public satanic devotional rite and demonic evocation, where we'll bring everyone into the ritual chamber to find their own way to commune with the left-hand path aspect of the demonic divine. So they can bring whatever spirit speaks to them, and of course give adoration to the Great Red Dragon, the primordial kind of representation of the satanic divine, the satanic force.
Shout out to they're doing some epic stuff,
dude.
Man.
Yeah. Sal and Hopi out there are holding it down, and they're really creating a community. I've spoken there 2 other times over the last year and a half. They've really created a successful community that is bringing together, talking about being open and affirming. Not only do they give me the opportunity to speak and do whatever else there, but the audience is very, very open, very endorsing, very compassionate. They're primarily geared, you know, their primary practice is more Hecate, but they've opened that up to be just broadly speaking left-hand path and Satan friendly. So I've known Sal for
one day to teach alongside you there, bro.
What's up, brother?
I dream one day to teach alongside you there, man.
Oh, that'll be great. Yeah, I can't wait. I can't wait to do a visit out there in the Philippines, man.
Oh my God, I would love that. You and Wade and the guy's shit, man. The portals would open. It would be so epic.
I think, yeah, I see that you're holding it down. the community there in the Philippines, and I would love to. I haven't been to that part of the world. I'd love to make a trip out there, and maybe we can do a little event together. Make it happen. Maybe make it happen the next year or something.
That would be wonderful. I'd be honored to have you. So for the last part of your segment, because we got a bunch of people lined up, you got something to share to us? Any secret Shay Ble's ancestral method that everyone wants to learn from you? Because this man cannot and will not be silenced as long as there's a magic knot.
Thank you, brother. Yeah, one last thing I'd like to plug, and then I can get into that. One last thing is in a few months, I'll be partnering with Robert Artisan to produce all these classes I've been doing locally in Europe and in the US, and hosting it on the Serpent Hall. So it'll be available for a digital offering. So all these classes I've been discussing, if you're not in LA, if you're not in England, if you're not somewhere else, it will be available then. So as far as imparting something that I find most pressing at the moment, it goes without saying, we're in a transitional time, and we're in a time when a lot of us are going through personal challenges and struggling, and the world is struggling. The world is under a gauntlet, a transitional gauntlet. And I think what's important for us to understand above anything else is, what was the initial thing that brought us into this path? What is the initial thing? Was it the idea of performing magic to see strange things happen? Was it a spiritual experience as a child or as an adult? Was it giving up on or anger towards your former religion? What was that feeling? And I find when we really dig, we're going to find at the heart of it a sense of personal liberation. A lot of what drives us in this, what will bring us to the fringe of culture, to religious culture, to the occult, to the esoteric, is we're seeking for an answer that we're not finding in a conventional sense, or conventional religion isn't exactly offering that. And I say, in this time more than ever, we have to dig to that childlike curiosity, we have to dig into that wonder, and we have to dig into that fire that seeks towards liberation and freedom. And I think if we hold on to that original feeling when we light our candles, when we light our incense, when we do our readings, when we do our rituals, if we can tap into that what I would call black flame, then that will sustain us through the darkest of times.
Wow, man. I mean, I can't wait to read that book.
Absolutely.
Wade, do you want to say anything to Shea while we still got him?
That was excellent. That would be nice. To have that whole thing just like written out in like nice calligraphy, that would look nice.
Like a mission statement.
That was
it's going to be so funny
public speaking than I do.
When the end of days comes and people say, actually, no, the prophet I was talking about was Shay. Imagine all the shit themselves if that happened.
You guys are kind.
I'm so proud of you, man. And, we will always be here to support you. And I'm honored to have you on this show at this time. I mean, I remember I've shared a lot of things with you. I've shared a lot of things with Wayne that I didn't even think I'd make it this far. And the messages you sent me outside of the show shows who really holds the light in this world. So, brother, anytime you need us, we're here, man.
I respect you guys, and I'm putting together my second book. When it's done, I expect to maybe get a slot in your next season or so.
Well, you will get it. You'll probably open it. It's like, oh, the second book is here.
Absolutely.
You know what? I love
great.
talking to you guys. You guys do. I always love sitting down talking to you, whatever the course is, and I highly respect you, Robert and Wade, and I think you guys are doing beautiful work, liberating work, and you're making the world a better place, and you're doing the good work, and I appreciate you.
All right, thank you, Shea. Like I said, we're always going to be friends. Backup's always for you. Won't take up much of your time because you got to finish that second book before I turn 50.
That's right, brother.
I love you. Thank you so much for being here, man.
All right, love you guys. Take care.
Man. Bye-bye. And that is just basically one of the most amazing gentlemen I've ever met, Shay Ble, author of Frederick Nietzsche and The Left-Hand Path. Such a nice person to have to rock on season 2. I mean, second year anniversary of Magic.tv. So, Shay is such an amazing person to have on the show. He brings in this very powerful, passionate energy. But, one of the things I liked about having guests on the show are the comedic types, right? The one with a sense of humor. Remember those?
Oh, there's nothing like humor. Especially with the world being the way it is.
You need
You don't have a sense of humor, you got nothing.
So you know what? For our next special guest, an old friend of mine, I lovingly call him the Asimar. I actually assume he's half angel. He's been a friend of mine for years. Probably the only real occult comedian I know, because he's a serious practitioner and a hilarious guy in the process, who I take a lot of joy making laugh. I'd like to welcome to the anniversary special of Magic.tv, my dearest friend, the Asimar, magical comedian, David Stolowitz. David, hello!
Hi, guys. Nice to
Good
see
morning.
you. Good morning.
So how's it out there in the Bay Area or wherever the hell it is you're staying now, David?
Yeah, I'm in South Santa Clara County, and it's been over 100 degrees the last week. Good times. However,
So-
I did get something useful out of the extreme heat. Check it out.
What is that?
That's the seal of fire from the 7th book of Moses. Made it myself. Gonna fumigate it with some salamander incense I got from Rhode Island this morning when I'm done with you guys.
Jesus,
All
he's
right.
straight into the deep end. So, Mr. Comedian, make me laugh. What's going on? What's some skits you got for us, my dear friend? Anything to make me shit my pants in laughter, which you do regularly.
You know, I was looking over my stuff from the last few years. I haven't done a lot of occult comedy specifically, but I do have some good stories for you guys.
Go right ahead, fire away.
Okay, maybe the Yazidis will appreciate this one. I have a neighbor with an emotional support peacock. Can you guys relate?
You're talking to Bird, right?
Yeah, the bird. The bird is a bird, and it's a free-range peacock, so it's always running out into the road. And I'm really scared I'm going to hit it. I mean, it's a beautiful bird, but at the same time, I'm kind of curious about what color it would bleed.
That would be
Yeah, like
I'm
I never
still stuck
understood
on
those
emotional
Raiders
support
fans that claim
peacock.
to bleed black and silver. Doesn't that mean there's something wrong with your gallbladder?
Is that serious?
Yeah, well, I mean, no, the Raiders fans don't really have blood problems except from diabetes, but, you know, yeah. Not
Do you
that
want to
Niners
get
fans are
stormed
much better,
outside your
but-
house?
Yeah, so it's not as bad as my other neighbor. I'm pretty sure they're into organized crime. My friend says you can tell by the gate design, but I think that's bullshit. That's more about their attitude, definitely. You know, because it's like I'm not allowed to talk to the lady neighbor because her husband is really possessive. You know, he says, "This is my girl. You can't have her." Like, he doesn't even know I'm gay. You know, so I try not to say inappropriate things to her, like, "Good morning. What time is it? Can you move your car?" You know, they actually did try to get us kicked off the property during the pandemic. They got real close, but then Og did a Santeria chicken sacrifice that stopped them for a while. So I think we're good.
You just threw the book at them, didn't you?
Oh, yeah. I don't use that book, but yeah.
So what's up, David? What have you been up to in the comedy scene, my friend? We miss you, and thank you for being here on our 2nd-year anniversary.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to see you guys again. I've just been doing open mics as far as comedy. Trivia is my big game these days just because it's paying better and I get more respect. So I've been doing that up on the peninsula. I host 2 to 3 trivia shows a week. And the tips have been great. It's been really fun for the most part. I mean, occasionally I get attacked by drunks, but, you know, that happens to everybody, right?
Not out here.
Out here it's junkies. Got attacked by a heroin junkie in full high.
Heroin
full
junkies.
high.
Okay. A little worse
Yeah.
than ducks. Okay. Yeah, I mean, we have plenty of junkies out here, but heroin's not usually one you see much these days anymore. A lot of tweakers out here. They break into your place at different times. I knew this guy in Berkeley. I used to hang out with him, and he was really condescending. He'd say, when the homeless asked him for change, he'd be like, "Well, change comes from within." And then one night, change did come from within. A tweaker broke into his house. I told him not to fuck around with Furcus, but he didn't listen. He's like, "Oh, I'm enlightened. I don't need to do that." That's why it was so funny when I saw that video from VHS 99, and they're all like, "Is that Furcus again?" And I'm like, "Yeah, somebody gets it."
How has your practices been doing lately, my friend?
Let's see. I had a nightmare last night that God was really pissed at me. He does that when I ask him to kill people, so I should probably knock that off. After a few years, you just get the message, and it's frustrating because it's like he doesn't take away the anger. I mean, even in the New Testament, it says, you're supposed to channel your anger into something productive. And I have been going to the gym. Like, I just had my 1-year anniversary with the extra $50. So, yeah.
All right,
beast
David.
broke into my trailer.
Here's one thing I wanted to share. The last time you shared us something, the whole hummingbird thing, I was very thankful for that. It was actually very helpful. I'm curious, what does David have in his big book of David magic that you could share with us today? Because you're literally named after somebody from the Bible.
Yeah, I am. David was a king and a minor prophet. He did fuck up significantly, though, so that's why a lot of people in the Trump party are into him. So here's something you might enjoy.
Fire away.
You've seen this before, Rob. This was
Yes,
my Shem of a Forest seal. And as you can see, it's been watercolored with living water. I didn't mean to do that, but I had some plants I was watering next to it. And I want to tell you guys, like, you probably heard about the Shem angels before. But they're really useful for a lot of different things. And you'll see different books that break them down different ways and explain them. And they say they have this power, they can do this. And then you read another book and it's like, oh, well, it says something totally different. But the truth is they kind of customize themselves to your situation. It has to do with big numbers like 72, like not just in numerology, but in science and in nature. 72 is a number where things start to develop interesting relationships in geometry and mathematics. So do you remember when you were a kid and you would cut out snow angels?
Yeah.
Like, you know, with construction paper. Did you ever do the one where it's like they're all linked together, like hands across the world?
I could never do that. I was too much of a tweaker myself.
But you've seen them, yeah, where it's like the kids cut them out when you unfold them. They're all linked up. So angels are in the world of creation, Bria in Hebrew. And so they have a collective consciousness. Like every angel is hooked up to every other angel. In a way, they are every other angel because they're all aspects of God. And they don't have any separation from him. If they do, that's when they start descending further into matter. And, you know, sometimes they fall from their highest state. But with the Shem angels, it's like any kind of angelic work you do with a really large number is about getting to something specific in your life you need to deal with. So a big number like 72, 365, or even 1001, if you want to go that far, is going to divide the kind of service you get into something really, really particular. So whether you're working with the Shem angels, you're doing Abramelin, or any other big set, you're not going to need all of them. You're just going to need the ones you need for you. And going through the process, it not only breaks down what you need, but it kind of finds a spirit to fill the gap. Like even in the Arbitella Magic, they have a method where they don't even lay out specific angels other than the Olympics. They just say, here's the seal of secrets. Here's how to aim in the right direction for what you're looking for. And here's how to, you know, find the angel that will teach you that. So it's something that you can always find with and work with. I mean, and you can use lots of different names for them. In fact, the whole process of naming them is making them specific. So, for example, I want business help. I break things down through Abramelin and I find the right spirit to help me out with business. And it turns out to be Pefesla, who's also into storytelling, by the way. Demons to some, angels to others. And, you know, that really depends on who you're reading and who you're dealing with. Some people write books and they're like, oh, the Shem of a Forest is totally black magic. And others are like, no, they're the most purest things ever. But, you know, it's magic black and white. It depends on how you take it and you use it. Like you work with Enochian, Rob. You've seen how those tables can be inverted into a satanic version if you want to really hammer people. So, yeah, with the Shem angels, you get a lot of cool synchronicity. I've been working with them for maybe 20 years because back in the 2000s, the Kabbalah Center had a book out on the Shem Forest, and it got really popular. And it was so popular for a while that the used bookstores were full of them. It was just called the 72 Names of God, and they had some cool illustrations and stuff. Yeah, like Madonna and even Britney Spears were into Kabbalah for a little while when it was really hot and popular. You know, you could buy red strings from Rachel's tomb for like $5.
What's your go-to book on the Shem angels?
I'm sorry?
What's your go-to book on the Shem angels?
You know, the Sefer Raziel, actually. Because it's very close to the original way that they would do it in medieval Europe. And it breaks down the connections and stuff. Like the 72 is a good beginner's guide that I would recommend, but it's more kind of focused towards professional success. That's probably why my dad liked it so much. So yeah, I mean, there's several different ones, but I like the original Sefer Raziel because you get exposed to the original Hebrew. There's good editions out there where they have the Hebrew and the English side by side, and you can see the method used in the creation. So it's 3 verses from Exodus that describe the parting of the Red Sea, and all of the words are kind of smushed together, and then they're broken down into 72 decans, like in astrology.
Yeah.
So 72 times, what was it? I'm trying to remember the math, but you get 365 with the right multiplication.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, each of the names are 3 letters, and then they have the divine added to them, El or Yah, accordingly. So you can see how the method works for yourself. And the 72 isn't the only power name in Kabbalah, but it's the most well-known. In 6 and 7 Moses, they call them Shemaphores and Semaphores. Shemaphorish is Hebrew for the extended name, and Semaphoros is Greek for a flag or a banner. So you could go back and forth with it. And they like that wordplay in the old world. They liked going back and forth between different languages. That was kind of a magical thing to do. That's like when you look at Abramelin squares, that's why they have different languages mixed up in them. You know, you have the classic sacred ones, and then they had some exotic ones in there. But you can also use modern languages too. It's just at the time they were like, oh, English and French and Spanish, they're so new and mundane. I mean, we don't want to use them. They're too vulgar and dirty.
Wow.
But now, you know, as an American, that's the old world for me. So they've got a mystical effect when I use them.
Pretty epic, and that's something I'd like to look into in the future. So, David, any parting words for us for our 2nd year anniversary on the show? Because I really enjoyed having you here. We got some other people lined up tonight, but you know, you're a dear friend of mine. I love you dearly. Can't wait to see you again in the Bay Area when I come visit. Anything you want to share with us before, like where you're performing, what you're up to, or any nice blessings you want to give to us on the show?
You can come see me at the Refuge restaurants on the peninsula. I'm there early in the week. And one thing, like everybody knows about the 7 deadly sins, but people forget about the 7 virtues that go with them. Mm-hmm. Any one of those sins you want to counteract, you can balance it out with a holy virtue. For me, wrath is a real problem. So patience is a virtue that goes with that. So just like with the Shem angels, they can counter the demons or at least help you moderate them. So you have a healthy way of not going to prison.
Anyhow, David, thank you so much for being here today with us on this monumental episode. You're a dear friend, and we are going to have you again on season 4, The Modern Magicians, and we're going to have a full segment about comedy and magic on how it can be used as a form of gnosis. Everyone, our dear friend, the laughing magician, David Stolowitz. Thank you, David. Love you dearly. Take care, man.
Thank you. Enjoy your day.
So imagine that, Wade, from the devils to the angels. Isn't that epic?
Well, you know, he did give us some helpful tips there. I do enjoy not going to prison. I'm actually doing that right now. So something I like to do every day.
Well, you know, one thing we're going to need to do, wait, let me just prepare our next guest. One, you're ready. You see, nowadays, speaking of not going to prison, you know, quite frankly, we need to be a little bit proactive on how we protect ourselves. Okay. There are a lot of crazy people out there. By the way, David, I know you're in the lobby watching, so you could stay there and watch all you want. Maybe when if you're still around when Dr. Jeremy Weiss gets here, I'd like to see both of you on the show. You guys could just cockfight each other. but that being said, he's in gorilla right now. But then protection's important. Why? Because there's a lot of crazy people out there nowadays. Because of witch talk, because of the availability of magic on Amazon, because of certain authors who will take texts like the Goetia and water it down into just add water and you do a demonic summoning. And they're basically like chimps with hand grenades and machine guns. And because of this, I've actually suspected that certain people tried to hit me. And that's a big thing, especially out here, because it's like, you better have some juice if you're going to come after me. That's like somebody out there in Humboldt trying to send a demon after you. It's just like, what? Glacia, what are you doing here? Who the fuck sent you after me?
I've had that happen, and they end up working for me.
Exactly. But, you know, our next guest is somebody who I dearly respect because he's like, you didn't get to interview this guy because you weren't around when he guested. But I feel he's like, if he could have been a character in Supernatural, Okay, he's a grizzled old occult investigator. A guy has been there, done it. He's shared with me some very helpful tactics. I'm hoping he gets on soon enough. Okay, let me just paste it. All right. And I like the works he's done. He's reviewed my book, but he's actually shared with me certain things he would do on investigations and how to protect himself. Because not only has he been not just doing cleansings, investigations, and stuff like that, but he's also been aggressed upon by other mages. So our next guest is just going to share with us some of his own battlefield experience. Like, I literally, when I see this guy, I see him, he's like a freaking Union trooper from the Civil War that hunted supernatural things. And for those of you who could guess, if anybody can guess who he is, I'll draw a tarot card for you. But one person, weirdly enough, actually messaged me and from the Philippines and has asked, Rob, is he your father? Because they actually thought he was my dad because he had a tarot deck, he had the fedora hat, and I was flattered because that's hold on. That's exactly how I figured my dad would look. Hold on, let me just try to wait a minute. I think he's getting cock blocked. He's already waiting, but let's try this again. Okay, paste. Wait. Try that on your phone. But while we're waiting for him, Wade, what are some basic protective methods that you have to protect you when people are trying to send bad shit your way?
You know, I set up boundaries.
Mm-hmm.
Around my house, my property, around my room. There's layers of protection. But one of the best ones that I've done is I'll go around the entire city.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll set up a boundary. There's a whole process for that, but it kind of brings everybody into the circle. So you've got a lot of people living in your circle, and it's sort of like having a room full of plants. You're feeding them, they're feeding you, everything kind of works. So that anyone who's trying to come against you has to deal with this massive macroorganism that is all part of a balanced ecosystem, and they're just not going to get any kind of traction.
But doesn't that kind of...
It's not even about keeping them out. It's just they get in and they're immediately swamped, literally, by the amount of life energy that's in there.
Isn't there like a certain energetic demand that it takes upon you to bring them into that circle?
Not if you do it right, because you're putting a circle around them. They're kind of feeding into the system, but then they're also getting the benefits of your work. So it becomes just a flow, give and take, back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
And it also kind of gives you a certain amount of control over the city, which is nice.
Really? So, like, what are things that you can do it with that? Like what are some of the benefits of opening it on, or like, what are some benefits of doing it, of having something like a control over the city?
Well, it helps you if you have any developments in mind.
Mm-hmm.
So you say, like, you know what, we need an olive garden, and you just kind of throw that out there into the system, and it comes around, and you get an olive garden.
And there's no taxing for you to have that happen, right?
No.
Like, it doesn't like demand, or it doesn't like how do I say, like, it doesn't drain you to do this?
No, it wasn't even part of the original design. I just started noticing, like, hey, we need a Target. And 6 months later, they announced, hey, Target's opening a new location here. And you're like, oh, that's an interesting coincidence. And then but it happens over and over again. And I realized that that's actually part of the system, the symbiosis, is that it just kind of flows in and out. And it's really something. We'll have to do that in the Philippines when I'm over there. I'll come out and visit, and I'll give you the Philippines.
Well, let's do that also with Shay around too, wouldn't that? Let's put like some satanic thing in the center of the city. But you know what? Here's one personal technique I do when it comes to protecting. It's like 5 men are better than one. Okay, I mean, that's actually one reason why the whole gang mentality is very powerful in America, because when you're part of a gang, you're actually plugging into a collective energy. You know what I mean? So, like, when you're following their customs, their colors, their beliefs, their traditions, the more you follow them, there's that egregor, there's that collective that comes, and it like comes together, And what it does is it basically like feeds each other. That's why there's so much how do I say, appeal for the youth or the disenfranchised youth to actually join a gang, because they get that support. So it's less of joining a gang itself. I actually tell people, if you could be part of a collective energy, something bigger than yourselves, a community, a lodge, how do I say, a coven, or anything like that. These things actually have their own egregors if properly practiced and properly maintained. So knowing that, like example, if you're a very stalwart member of the OTO and you're really in there and you take all of the rituals seriously and you give and you're like a loyal, faithful member, if somebody's going to try to mess with you, they're actually going to, they're going to pay the consequence for it, for lack of a better word, because they're not just messing with you, they are messing with an honorable member of the OTO that in effect, let me just try something. I gotta kick him. All right.
Well, as long as you stay in line with the theme of that egregore, if you're a member of the OTO and you're trying to perform your work or defend yourself as a member, but you're doing things that are very unphalemic, you're not really going to be able to tap into that kind of
exactly
that kind of juice. You sort of step off the bus at that point.
I completely agree with you on that, because because it's not just saying, oh, I'm an LTO member, I want all the juice behind it. Are you doing resh? Are you doing the rituals? Are you living up to the morals, the principles? You see, some people think, oh, that's just dogma, but people don't actually see the power of dogma. They don't say that, like, the reason in which these dogmas are imposed, it's actually a form of submissiveness, giving energy. That's why, like, as a Catholic, people have a hard time believing that I'm Catholic. One of the most powerful prayers to use up to now is the Our Father, because that's been being said since God knows how long. And the most powerful way of saying it is in Latin. If you can say, heck, if you can even figure it out in Aramaic when it was first said, that's going to make it even more powerful. But the one that has the most juice behind it, if you're going to learn one prayer in Catholicism, it's the Our Father in Latin, because you're actually plugging in to that collective energy of the Roman Catholic Church. So if you have something like that and it's working for you, then literally speaking, you're pretty much well defended. That's one hell powerful magical bulletproof vest you have.
Well, everything that we're talking about now is this is the main engine of the right hand path, is to sort of subsume yourself into a larger collective, and to be able to tap into that power. It's like you still exist as an individual, but you have this whole thing that you're part of and is also a part of you. Exactly.
And it's like that submissiveness actually that you're tapping into now. It's good for some, but it's not something for everyone. I mean, like I can get in, but I don't see your group. Okay, I'm going to join one more. Okay, let me just add guest, copy link. All right, I'm just trying to get our special guest in because he can get in now, but all righty. Hopefully he can get in. If not, we'll just jump to the last guest of the night. A lot of gremlins tonight. We missed out on two. We had two great guests. It's so polarizing. We've got like Mr. Satanist on one end, and we had Mr. Angel Magick on the other. Interesting way of starting our 2-year episode. I mean, 2-year anniversary. But till 12:36 on the clock. Hopefully we get our last one. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's strange. I've been having a lot of technical issues today.
I'm not going to hold it against anyone. I mean,
going online and offline, and just as far as the whole network goes. And I've got amazing Wi-Fi here. I got one of the mesh routers set up. I've got Wi-Fi all the way out to the back of the property.
I don't really even think it's. Oh, I think we got him. Hey, there you go.
Hey, good to see you.
Hi, good morning. How you doing? Bob Freeman, Occult Investigator.
I successfully defeated the gremlins that were trying to keep me out. So
Bob Freeman, meet my dearest friend, Vader OVIAK Wade Long. Welcome to the 2-year anniversary of the show. You have been an inspiration to me as an occult investigator who I have had the honor that people have thought you're actually my father. Unfortunately, I'm not that good looking. Bob Freeman has done it all. How have you been? What's been going on in your neck of the woods, my dear friend?
It's been thrilling, and I'm so happy to be here. It's been really exciting around here. There's all these increased UAP reports, and we've been having these, what I'm calling the Mississinawa Mothman sightings.
Mm-hmm.
So it's been really, really strange here in Indiana.
Well, you know, Bob, one of the reasons I brought you in, I was saying just to Wade earlier, it's a really creepy time for everyone right now. And people can use some extra protection, especially from the unseen world, from bad energies. And I said to myself, no one better to ask this than the grizzled, the general Bob Freeman of the occult world. So I'm bringing you here to ask you, in this time, this dark time with war on the horizon, with uncertainty politically and civil unrest, what is one thing we can do from the occult spiritual level to protect ourselves?
I'm going to share with you something I've never shared with anybody else. Okay. This is my own secret little recipe. All right. So I take a copper vessel and I put it outside and I collect rainwater. Right. Then I go out and I take it under a full moon and I add to that mixture. I don't know if they have it in your part of the world, but it's called hoary vervain, right? And you mix those petals in with that water, add just a drop of abramelin oil. And when I'm on an investigation, if we get into something really hairy, something really dark, then to cleanse yourself, you just make a circle with that water around yourself, and that repels negative energy. You can add a prayer if you want, to whatever pantheon you happen to adhere to. But it works really well. It's really simple to make. If you look into folklore, vervain's been used for centuries as a way to ward off evil spirits, the evil eye, that kind of thing. So really, really simple. Anybody could make it up, and it works wonders.
Is it good against like a curse, a magical attack, or is it more like the unseen things?
Oh no, it'll work against magical attacks, curses, anything. Yeah. Now you may have to spend more time inside that circle, but it's a great repellent from anything negative.
And does it have to be a copper vessel, or can we use any other vessel? Or is it like really part of the spell book that it's copper?
I think the copper works because it's a grounding metal, right? So it kind of adds that foundational energy to what you're working. So.
Amazing. So, Bob, I'm sure Wade would like to ask you some questions, but I just want to know what's your take. What's the spiritual temperature of the world right now, according to you, Bob, as the general of the occult warfare movement?
Well, it's a dark time. You're absolutely right. I've been seeing it, in my readings. People that you talk with, politically, you see things just kind of going south, and that the temperature, the climate, as here in the United States in particular, it's taking a very dark turn. Our leaders are failing us. And I think it's that dark negative energy, that's that cloud that's hanging over everyone, the whole world, really. Yeah. And that we just have to persevere and push through it and do what we can to counteract, that negative force.
Now, aside from your circle of protection technique, what can we as magicians and occultists do to make things at least a bit better for the world in this dark time?
Well, nothing beats, just positive thoughts and positive energy, creating that wellspring of light from within yourself and become like a beacon of positive energy in the world. And, those negative forces are going to be on you all the time, and if you can beat through those, and then that'll affect the people around you. And that's what you have to do, is you have to start small. I always think, begin with yourself, protect yourself, and then you can protect your circle of friends, and then it just expands out from there until eventually all those circles of energy are interlocking. I think back like during World War II when they were doing the Cone of Power to protect England from the Nazi attack, right? they were able to create this wellspring of positive energy to repel that invasion. And I think we can do the same thing here.
All right, that's Bob Freeman, Occult Investigator. What have you been up to for the last 2 minutes, and where can people find you? Where are you going to be doing any upcoming events or any upcoming books you want to share that's with your name on it?
Oh, right. So, like right now, I've been doing a lot of role-playing work. So, I'm working with Michelle Belanger, you may know from Paranormal State, and Portals from Hell. And then as far as investigations go, we're still kicking around inside that old Oddfellows Lodge and looking heavily into the wooded areas around here, looking for those cryptids that have been creeping up. So you can find me on X, on Facebook. I'm under Occult Detective. I'm on Instagram. I'm easy to find and always willing to chat with anybody that has questions.
Well, you know what? This dark time right now, Bob, your advice is worth its weight in gold. Thank you so much for what you shared to us. Wade, anything you want to ask Bob in the last minute or so?
Well, I've done some investigating myself. When I worked at Ancient Ways, we would have customers that came in and they would come in, they would have issues in their house or issues with an item they acquired. But what was the most unusual thing you ever found in somebody's house like that?
Oh, wow. So, okay, I'll tell you one that ended up being just very odd. A man was being visited by a succubus, and he felt like his children were in danger, and we investigated there for months, and what we found out was that his bed was situated on the backside of a freezer that had no metal shielding on it. So his brain was being bombarded with electromagnetic energy, right?
Oh.
And so that manifested this energy inside that house that his teenage daughters were making, basically creating this turmoil inside the house through all that energy that was circulating. And once we put shielding on that freezer, the activity stopped. So sometimes it's not necessarily paranormal, except it is, right? Because that flood of energy, right? So the influx, it's almost like a tulpa situation, right? Where when this happens, it takes on a life of its own.
Mm-hmm.
So sometimes there's ways to counteract that just by being level-headed and thinking things through. And
and occasionally a tinfoil hat.
Yeah, exactly. It's a strange and wonderful world that you never know what you're going to run into.
Well, you know something, Bob? I'm looking forward, if you would permit me, to have you back for season 4 this year. We already opened up, called The Modern Magicians. We're going to talk about some investigation techniques. If you're game, we'd love to have you this season.
I would be honored.
All right. So thank you, Bob. This is a monumental episode for us, our 2-year anniversary. People like you made the show possible. From the bottom of my heart, Bob, thank you so much. I really appreciate you being here.
Thank you.
All right. Soon, Bob.
Enjoy
Thanks for having us.
Okay, so you know what? Our guests are lining up, and looks like people are finally showing up. And what a better way to end today's episode. Bob, thank you so much. You're an officer and a gentleman. Than to have one of the men that I consider the Austin Powers of magic and occultism. This man doesn't need any introduction, because he's one of the guys, just like literally, if Austin Powers was an occultist, it would be him. He's a dear friend of ours. We've had it. I think he's the one we've had the most on the show. Without further ado, our friend, the Dr. Ruth of Occultism, Dr. Jeremy Weiss. Hello, Santa Claus.
Hey.
Good morning.
Wow. Thank you so much for having me. 2 years. I did not realize that. Wow. Time flies. You guys are just like killing it. This is fantastic.
Well, the beard is still the same.
I trimmed it the other day. I did it on my webs on Facebook. I made a little curly cues and silliness. So yeah. You know.
So what's going on with our friends at the Temple of Miriam? How are you, Doc? And we're just happy to have you to celebrate this moment with you.
I'm so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. I'll tell you what, I understand that that the theme of the show is, it's an anniversary show. It's like a gratitude. Thanks to everybody for supporting us, right? And I wanted to share a few things. One, a quick story about gratitude that is very relevant, and then I can update you with like all the new things that are going on at Temple of Miriam. We're teaching people how to make essential oils from scratch. Like I just went out and picked jasmine from my yard, made essential oils out of my own jasmine and hydrosols and lavender, and we've also been making also experimenting with soaps and casting silver, and now doing a lot of our amulets in pure silver, which is kind of fun. But let me get to the story about gratitude, which was that early in the week, I don't know if people here know this, but on every other Wednesday at the Temple of Miriam, firstly, every Tuesday at the Temple of Miriam, we have a book club, and then and it's free, and we have what's called a Kabbalist Parsha study. And at the book club, we're reading Ben Sirah, the alphabet of Ben Sirah right now. And so we choose a book that is an occult book that most everybody talks about, but not everybody's actually sat down and read. So we're reading, like I said, the alphabet of Ben Sirah, which is where Lilith, who you were just talking about, succubi and incubi, Lilith, the lore, the story that Lilith was Adam's first wife, comes from this particular book. So that's one of the things we have to do. And then we have what's called Kabbalist Parsha study, where we read a section of the Torah, right? But we do it in a Kabbalistic manner and take it all apart and reveal all of the mysticism behind the words that are actually used. And then on Wednesdays, every other Wednesdays, we have this service called the Ma'ariv. And the Ma'ariv service is a worship. It's for everybody to come, recharge their spiritual batteries, and get spiritual strength and support from the community. Okay. So Monday and Tuesday and Wednesday, I was having a terrible day all the way. Monday morning, Tuesday, and Wednesday, I had woken up to I had a Karen attack on Tuesday or Wednesday, and then I was showered from a particular group in the occult community, about how with very just anti-Semitic stuff, right? Mm-hmm. There's a lot of hot stuff going on around the Middle East right now, but the Jewish people are not a monolithic group. I have no responsibility or anything that politically of what's going on in Israel. And then just to jump on, people were just like jumping on a totally irrelevant chain, telling me what a horrible person I am because I'm related to these other people that are that they're in a disagreement with, right? So it's kind of like walking up to a black guy on the street and yelling at him about what the hell is going on in Sudan. Mm-hmm. So it was just all of this hate mail that I got. So I went to the Ma'ariv service, and at the beginning, it's on Facebook. You can go back and watch it live, because at the beginning of the Ma'ariv service, I gathered everybody together, and I said, we need three things. I need three things. I need to be reminded of perseverance in the face of adversity. I need to be reminded that about the importance of unity, and I need to remind everybody and be reminded that laughter is absolutely the best counter to any malevolence whatsoever. It's the best. It's always been said that laughing at the evil eye is a counter to the evil eye, and it's the same with other malevolent forces. If you laugh, and when you laugh, I believe what Alan Watts said. I believe that really that true religion or spirituality, if you want to say, is the transformation of anxiety into laughter, right? That's what we're here for. So that's
I see
what
somebody agreeing with you. Please continue.
yeah, that's what I prayed for with everybody at Ma'ariv. I woke up in the morning, all of a sudden I'm internet famous, right? My daughter's TikTok has blown up. This one video that she shot about me wrestling with the Karen she got 225,000 views on it. I've got 1,500 emails of people telling me how funny I am and what a nice person I was, and they wish that they could buy me a beer and that they wanted to they wish that I was their dad, and yeah, and just hundreds. And then we woke up in the morning and we read all of these lovely messages. It was exactly what I prayed for, right? Persistence and in the face of adversity, okay? Unity, okay? And laughter. We laughed reading the messages that people sent us. It blew up on TikTok. It blew up on all the platforms. X, whatever X is now, formerly known as Twitter. And this is the power of Ma'ariv service, the power, I think, of community, which is what Magic TV is all about, right? Getting us all together with our different variations of occult knowledge and mysticism and unusual knowledge, arcane knowledge, sharing it, supporting each other in our quest to become better people, okay, more helpful people, more greater participants in the community at large, working for good, most of us, okay, in our own special way, whatever we're doing, we're all trying. And this is what Magic TV is all about. This is what the Temple of Miriam is all about. It was it was an amazing reminder. I went from the depths of being yelled at and being to the height of, and that actually speaks to Miriam. Miriam is the sort of like mascot of Temple of Miriam, and she carries around with her a tambourine, and she's sort of like chastised a little bit by it, made fun of a little bit by the fact that she takes with her a tambourine when they're all running out of Egypt, and like, why the hell are you taking musical instruments? We don't have enough time to make the bread rise and stuff. Like, what's going on with the musical instruments? And she reminds everybody that you have to be prepared at any time. You have no idea. At any time, music could break out and joy could break out, and it could be just happiness could be just right around the corner. So you got to be prepared to party. That's the Austin Powers. You got to be prepared to party whenever the opportunity arises.
All right, Dr. Long Shlong, with your permission, can I add a friend of mine who was just a guest on the show to the show? I think he'd want to meet you in person if that's possible.
Absolutely. Listen, I'm sorry. I've talked for like 15 minutes straight.
It's okay, Doctor, because this is the last part of the segment. But then I wanted to add once again my friend, occult comedian David Stolowitz, to the show, because you're talking about making jokes, everybody being friends. Hello, David.
Meet David. Oh my goodness, this is
Shalom Aleichem.
I can tell this is a funny guy already.
Yeah, tell you that much.
It's the mustache, right? Yeah.
It's the mustache. It's the the long history and cultural association with comedians that our people have.
Well, you know what, gentlemen? I'll tell you this much. Dr. Jeremy Weiss hit the nail on the head. It's all about inclusivity of all forms of practice belief. We are all one. We've had Satanist, we've had Jew, we've had comedian, LGBTQ, we've had occult investigator, we have Thelemite, we have Catholic. I'm the only fucking Catholic here. I'm the one going to hell first. I'll save a seat on the bus for all of you guys. But guys, I went first. But you know what? It's really important that I'm just telling everybody out there, you could be a worshiper of Hecate, you could be gay, straight, you could be a Thelemite, you could be a Satanist, you could be a worshiper of Nyarlathotep, whatever you want to call it. Magic.tv. Well, we've actually had a great guy do that, and we learned a lot from him. Magic.tv.
Did you get 1,000 goats out of it?
You actually got a pretty good segment from S. Ben Kayen. He was pretty epic. I mean, okay. I was pretty blown away. So, like, Doctor, here's the thing. Since you're the man with the 16-inch schlong, single guys like me want to know, because this is the anniversary episode, we're going to wrap it up laughing because you're talking about laughter. What have you got for us lonely men out there? What can you recommend for us? Don't pull out your. Oh my God, he's gonna come back. And smile. Oh,
Easy. This is the best spell.
Okay, please do it.
Best spell of all time. Okay, okay. This spell involves, most spells involve a ritual. Rituals involve usually items, candles, amulets, whatever. This is a spell. It involves a book actually. It's not bibliomancy. Okay, the whole spell is this. It's worked for me many times. You go to the nearest coffee shop. Okay, you go to the nearest coffee shop. You take this book with you, and you just sit in the corner like this.
What's the name of the book? Huge. Okay, you're sending me one of those books, Doc. You're sending me that fucking book. Okay, that's a very cute gift. Okay, David, you can always get one of your own. Jesus Christ, yeah, that really worked, won't it? Thanks a lot. Magick.tv comedy. How I got a restraining order because of reading a book by Robert Rubin. I needed that. Thank you.
Is this a spell to get you banned from every coffee shop in town?
And pretty much, and find myself.
Unless you're in Santa Cruz, yeah.
Hey, listen, every time I've been banned, I left with somebody.
Okay, I'll take that much. My friend Gabriel Toth, keynote speaker of TarotCon, saying happy 2nd anniversary. Love you, Gabe. You're the future of the occult community here in the Philippines. You might get to meet some of these amazing individuals if I can ever get them on the plane. They seem to be all aerophobic, though. So I'm wondering which of you three guys is going to get here first. You know what I mean? There's a lot of money going on Wade, but it might just be David. He'd be like, hey, how did I end up?
Oh, no, I'm way ahead. I got plans.
So, you know what, gents, I just wanted to say how thankful I am to all of you. These past 2 years have been very amazing, but we're not done yet. We're on season 4, and you're going to see some of these amazing guys come back talking about some specific topics, occult comedy, or even inclusivity. Actually, as an occultist, I want to ask David about that because that's the theme of TarotCon 2024 is all about inclusivity in the tarot. So okay. I'm proud. I'm very proud to admit that I have platformed the LGBTQ community full force in TarotCon because I think that that's the perfect place to platform them amongst with other speakers that are going to be coming in because everybody deserves tarot. Okay, Wade, you've been one of my best friends since I was 15, and Doc, you have sat with me in therapy, and you probably pulled off half your beard, calling me in the middle of the night. I just wanted to ask all of you guys, since we're already like on just the tail end segment of the show for today, what are your hopes for Magick.tv? Let's hear from Wade first. I mean, for the next season.
Honestly, I would love to do a show in the Philippines when if we can pull off MagicCon next year. I would love to actually do a live show from the floor of the conference and have live call, like not call in, but like live people in the audience that can kind of engage with us. That would be great. Do the whole show live.
Well, let's do MagicCon from San Francisco.
Yeah, are you gonna do? Are you gonna at TarotCon? You should do a broadcast from.
That's TarotCon. The plan.
Okay, then yeah, that's fantastic. You got to do that for sure.
What about you, Doc? What's your hope for Magick.tv coming into its 4th season?
Magick.tv. This is what my hope is. My hope is exponential growth of viewership because you guys are really doing great work, spreading the word of about that middle message that I was talking about at that Ma'arif service, which is the message of unity. And that was that theme, right? I was getting attacked by it was a group. It was called X Pagan, X location, pagan, occult and metaphysical events, and I chimed in on there about stuff, and they were like, well, whoa, you don't belong, and they were just totally othering. You got to realize, like, Whoa, no. We're all interconnected. Much of our magical practices are all built on each other. And if they evolved separately, like maybe the magical practices of the Maori versus the magical practice of the Fijians, okay, fair enough. They still have a lot of overlap in their concepts, which means that a lot of people have hit upon the same answers for this, or similar. This is how we do it in ARC. Oh, you have the evil eye. We have the evil eye too. Oh, how do you deal with it? Oh, really? This is how we do it. So it's about cultural exchange. So I would like to see Magic TV progress to this cultural exchange so that we can work on Tikkun Olam, which is healing and repair of the universe. Because we are all interconnected. And if I'm picking on someone, I'm really just picking on a different part of the universe that's conscious of itself. That's what, like I'm just picking on me. That's how we have to see it. So that's what I would hope for Magic TV, to spread that message and to grow.
And for my dear friend, the Asimar, or aka the Laughing Magician, what's your hope for Magic.tv going into its 4th season?
I'd love to see some workshops get going. It was cool that you guys got that tarot convention going in the Philippines. I've been reading the grimoires for so many years, and these all used to be initiatory systems where people would go through them step by step, over the course of many years even. And I'd love to see some of that start up again for, Mosaic, Solomonic, all of it. Because, these used to be kind of lodge works that people would do together. And it's cool to do things individually, but it does have its limitations. So my dream is if I ever do come out to the Philippines, or you come here, Rob, we could do a seminar, like on the Keys of Solomon or the 6th and 7th Book of Moses, and, walk people through the experiences so they can have them for themselves.
Definitely coming back to the Bay Area. You can't keep me out of there, and I'm coming back with an army at my back. But I'm going to wrap up the episode. Guys, don't go anywhere. But this is the 2nd year anniversary of Magic.tv. Had some amazing people. But guys, if you're just tuning in, you didn't miss anything. I am giving you the teaser of the penultimate season, because I'm going to be calling on each and every one of these good-looking motherfuckers to teach something right out of their book, like How to Grow a Beard by Dr. Jeremy Weiss, and How to Use the Beard by David Stolowitz. So this is going to be an epic season. A lot of great people have committed to come back and share things. Like the prequel to that book is How Did Dr. Jeremy Weiss Grow the Huge Penis? It's an ancient vice technique that only those of the blooded line get that. But I just want to say,
for $150.99, you too can learn the secret.
Sounds a lot of fun. But we're gonna call it a night tonight because it's now 1:05 in the morning. But don't go anywhere. I'm just saying good night to everyone. This is just the beginning of something great to happen. Love you all. See you all
right.
next episode. You guys all rock. Don't leave, boys.
Okay.